Hello and welcome back to the Eyes of O Gaming channel for another game review. And today we're looking at something I don't think we've covered anything that's really similar on the channel, so it should be interesting for a first time. This time we're looking at the game Galacticare, a medical business simulator which released in 2024. So I believe this was published by Cult Games. That's what shows up on the game if you go to the official website. However, Steam lists it as Mythright. And on Mythright's page, they list Galacticare as one of their games. Anyway, it looks like Cult is probably the main publisher, but I'm guessing that Mythright is a co-publisher on the game. The developer for this one is Bright Rock Games. As far as other games that they've been involved with, there's War for the Overworld, which I haven't actually tried, but it looks like a dungeon sim, and so I'm guessing they must specialize in these top-down simulation type games. So let's jump right in so I can hopefully help you answer the most important question asked in this review series. Is this game worth it for you? Let's get into it. So as far as the plot for this game, it's a simulation game, so you probably can expect that there's going to be a fairly loose overall story. What I mean by that is because this one's set up as a series of scenarios, there's kind of a loose general story of what it wants you to accomplish as you go through for each, but for the most part each individual scenario is mostly self-contained, and for the most part it's not really the most important aspect here. I would say that all you really need to know is that you're playing as a hospital administrator, which means as you play through the variety of scenarios, which by scenario, I just mean the different sandbox maps that you're going to play through that each have a particular requirement to fulfill for each one before you can move on. Anyway, for each of the scenarios, you're still going to be the hospital administrator, so you're just building out your space hospital in each one. So it is possible to continue playing after fulfilling whatever the map requirements are, but this one really feels like less of a keep building on a map forever type of game and more of a build up your hospital just to achieve your specific goal and then move on. So it's a sandbox game, but it has predetermined goals for each scenario. As I mentioned, Galacticare is a medical business simulator, or a tycoon style game if that makes sense. Everything is going to be split into different chapters, so it's different hospitals that you're building up. You're going to have essentially the same access to things across all of the scenarios, but you will need to prioritize building different rooms or making sure you have different placeables on each scenario in order to complete the mission objectives. The game eases you into it very slowly with each chapter. It's going to add more and more things with each scenario, so there isn't much of a learning curve at all in this one. I also found that the game is extremely easy, and hitting those mission requirements, it's going to be really quite simple. It follows the same basic loop for each chapter. Build more rooms to treat more patients, to generate more credits, to build more rooms. As you grow your credit stream, you can specialize and prioritize mission-critical objectives. That said, usually the things that you're required to do are going to be the same things that are making you credits. It's all going to follow a fairly straightforward progression. You don't have control over the map or the layout of it, so you can't actually change the dimensions of the station that you're building in. You need to work around whatever limitations or setup you're given. And from there, you just build your treatment rooms or other administrative rooms within that area. So for building these rooms, you pretty much just make a blueprint of the room within the starbase to construct. Then you're going to need to add the necessary objects, so like the treatment machines. And finally, you add other things such as decorations, as well as some other options to boost the productivity of the room. You can also use specific objects to boost the staff, or maybe some other bonus. As far as the staff goes, you're going to need to hire them, and ideally you'll pick people with specializations for the particular treatment rooms that you're assigning them to. You also need to worry about other things in the hospital, such as bots to maintain the facility, vending machines for the patients, seating, and decorations. Again, all this stuff is going to be laid out pretty well in the main game's progression, and it does a very good job of teaching you what you need to build to do a certain thing or have a specific result that you're looking for. Aside from all the building, there's also going to be traders who periodically visit and sell you things. Sometimes things you can make yourself, but it's obviously quicker to buy it. Sometimes they'll have more unique things or things that just give you a bonus, and it's up to you to decide if it's worth purchasing or not. Once you complete all the objectives for a given chapter, you can either keep playing in sandbox mode or move on to the next chapter. Personally, I found that once the objectives were done, I didn't have much ambition to continue sandbox play in the area. It does get kinda stale afterwards in my opinion, and there's also a bit of a problem with this that I'll get into in the bugs and performance section. So the first game that I'm going to use to compare to this one, it's basically just because I'm very familiar with it. And I know that there's likely others that are going to be a little bit better comparisons, but this is what I know. So Tropico does have some similarities. Again, it's a simulation game where you're having different structures or specialized structures. You need to manage your resources, and it's also quite similar in that it has this humor underpinning the entire game. They're both going to be games that don't take themselves too seriously, and they present scenarios, oftentimes ethical dilemmas or choices, which are devoid of morality, but it's all done in that dark humor way. Of course, there's going to be major differences as well. Tropico is more of a macro builder. You're controlling an entire island, whereas Galacticare, you're building a single hospital, room by room. So, warning because I haven't played it, but from what I've seen, Starbase Startopia is also a very similar game as well. It's got base building, dealing with the needs of guests, and resource management. Again, from what I've seen, it all looks very similar. If you've already played that game, please let us know down in the comments if you think it's a fair analogy and what you would use to compare. So I mentioned that there was something that I wanted to talk about in this section when you've completed chapter objectives and move into the sandbox mode. Essentially what I'm getting at here is there's a huge performance hit from having many visitors in your hospital and a bunch of staff working as well. Things are going to slow way down, and you also get some really weird audio glitches, and oftentimes I would even crash right out of the game.
The barbaric Xenathon with radiation is underway.
Sigh. I wish that was me.
If I'm being honest, I actually crashed a lot in this game, enough that it's certainly worth mentioning. I usually try to keep things on the game's benefit. I can forgive a lot of weirdness. I'm a longtime Bethesda fan, so I'm used to dealing with bugs that cause general weirdness. That said, this one was super frustrating with the number of crashes. Often it will crash near the end of an objective as the probability goes up as you have more and more going on in the hospital. So like more patients or staff or other things that you built. And so obviously this is going to happen near the end of the chapter once you've built everything up. This can be especially frustrating when the game crashes right as you're completing a chapter and you need to go restart and hit those objectives again. I was able to play through and complete all of the scenarios though, so it's not like it stops you from completing the game as long as you don't get too frustrated and rage quit. It can certainly be annoying to deal with though. So it is possible that a patch has come out since I played that improved things, but that was my experience when I was playing. So aside from that, if we want to just consider the unique aspects of the game, I think the general concept, not the sandbox tycoon builder, but the general galactic hospital setting. This seemed like a really interesting concept, and I do like the way it's presented. My only critique, I guess, is that there's too many obvious or standard things. So every once in a while during a scenario, they'll present you with some unique concept or challenge. But it feels like those are too few, and for the most part, you're just doing essentially the same thing every time. The challenges are often just the same thing recycled over and over in different scenarios. Also, once you start building up your hospital, it feels like it's nearly impossible to fail. I actually don't know if you can fail a chapter, as it didn't happen for me. Once you get a decent credit stream going, you can bounce back from pretty well anything, making the game extremely easy in my opinion. Graphics were pretty good in my opinion, especially for a simulation game. You've got a lot of color, which is nice, and definitely a sci-fi feel to it. That said, all of the locations are going to look basically the same. You're not going to get much variety here. And once you built one hospital, you know exactly what it's going to look like. As you move through the different scenarios, you do get some other rooms that are added, and for the most part the animations are pretty good, but overall they're all going to feel fairly similar. A doctor goes over to a device or operates a machine, and a patient either gets held or suspended or something, and a little animation plays out, and the patient is either cured or not. Sound is basically the same commentary here as the graphics. It's good for the most part, but it just gets pretty repetitive with the background music and sounds that get played for the different devices. Dialogue I thought was pretty good though, and it's really consistent with its humorous style throughout, never really taking itself very seriously at all. For graphics, just use the gameplay footage to see if it works for you, and I'll play some examples of the sounds such as devices being used and some snippets of dialogue so that you make up your own mind on it.
Oh, you're here! Yeah, I'm so excited. I've never actually met humans before. You people are so interesting.
Patients from all throughout the solar system will darken our halls, bringing with them all sorts of awful maladies and excretions.
You? Maybe hearing voices. Unpleasant timing. Help, please. Help, please.
And so just before we get into asking if I enjoyed the game and if I would recommend it, I just wanted to let you know that it really doesn't matter if I enjoyed the game or not. If you found the first part of the review where we're going over the different aspects of the game interesting, you should definitely check out the game. Whether or not I enjoy the game, it doesn't mean that you will or you won't. And also, for anyone who's new to the channel, I don't give any stars or a number rating out of 10 or something like that. I find all those kind of things really pointless. Someone might rate a game 10 out of 10 and then the next person says it's the worst game they ever played, or the other way around. So yeah, this next part, it's just for fun, and definitely feel free to disagree with me. Okay, so the big question here, did I enjoy Galacticare and would I recommend it to my friends?
It's okay.
It was alright. As far as tycoon simulation style goes, the concept is interesting. The dialogue is really light and uses humor to keep you interested in playing through all of those chapters. Unfortunately, the biggest downfall of this game is the general sandboxing, like when you've completed a chapter. It's just not interesting in my opinion. Usually for these types of simulation games, I don't even play the scenarios. I just stick to the open sandbox. In this game, I had no interest in doing an open sandbox style play. Once I completed all the objectives, it was just move on to the next chapter. Without those unique objectives or dialogue that come with it, it just all feels way too repetitive. And this is coming from someone who's put countless hours into Paradox games like Crusader Kings or Stellaris, which are games that are frequently criticized as being spreadsheet analyzers or just very repetitive games. The other problem with the sandbox in this game is all of the crashes. Once you build too much, the hospital just becomes unplayable as the game cannot keep up. I was playing on console, so I would expect that it should be optimized for it. And yes, I know, console for simulation and strategy games is weird, and it's not my standard style. But regardless, the game would crash near the end of a chapter once you built up your hospital enough to complete the objectives. The thoughts of continuing play afterwards just seemed very unlikely that it would even be able to handle it. Now don't get me wrong, it's not all negative, and overall I did find the game to be fun. I actually feel like this one might have some wider appeal, both with simulation game enthusiasts as well as more casual gamers. You really don't need to worry too much about maximizing everything. When I started, I went crazy on this, trying to be extremely efficient. I soon realized that the game is extremely easy and forgiving, and you really don't need to optimize that much to get through. Like I said earlier, I don't even know if it's possible to fail a scenario, as I didn't, and it seems like you actively need to work at trying to fail it for that to happen. As you build up, you're just going to keep making more credits, and so if you didn't build the right way, just wait a bit and keep going. It just seems like you're always going to eventually hit those objectives. The only objectives that do require a little bit of thought is when the game wants you to improve something like patient satisfaction or something similar. But really, there's rooms that are designed specifically for that or augments the rooms that you can install, so it's really not hard to hit those requirements either. At the end of the day, I would recommend this to people who enjoy simulation or the tycoon style games, and also more casual players who want a relaxed environment to just build and simulate a hospital. Bonus points for this one are going to be for people who enjoy sci-fi settings or enjoy dark humor in their games. So I hope you enjoyed this look at Galacticare. If you've already played through this game, please let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with me, and also consider giving the video a like if you found it helpful or entertaining. In the unlikely event that you're still watching at this point, please do consider subscribing to the channel, as I post a bunch of gaming content, not just reviews like this, but also walkthroughs and other gaming stuff, and I'd love to have you join the community and help direct the future of the channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today, and until next time, take care.
Bonjour, guten Tag, Moshi Director, and welcome to Galacticare. It's time to bring this dream of ours to life. I can't wait to see this hospital up and running. Personally, I'm not one for all this nitty-gritty management stuff. I'd much rather be in the lab, so that's why you're here. Remember, if you ever feel lost, you can review your objectives in the top right corner of your interface. Take it away, Heel.
Thank you, Mom. Director, let's start with a particularly fun section. Calibrating sensors and perspective. Yes.